Did you know you can start a dealership with like $1,000? That's what I did. You can definitely do it, and I'm going to show you how in this video. So, quick rundown, a quick background of my story. So in 2013, 2013 of June, I got my first dealer's license, and I paid nothing. Like a few $100. So this is my background. In 2012 to that point, I was flipping cars like on Craigslist, buying them, flipping them, open title, that kind of thing, which, I don't recommend, but, if you don't get caught, then it could provide enough money for you to do this or whatever you're doing. So this is February 1st, 2020, and people are getting their tax returns and they're going to buy shit. And you could start a $100,000 a year profitable dealership with less than your tax return, and I'm going to show you how in this video. So in June of 2013, that's when I got my first license, but it was a few months in work in progress. And what I did is at that time I had like $500 to my name. No, it was probably about 1,000. So I went out, I found this place. It was a little gas station store where it was a food truck that was paying the landlord to park their food truck here. So the building was very small, not really being used, and I'll flash it up on the screen. So I found the owner. So I went to the food truck, got the owner's name. I was like, "Hey, look, man, I will give you $50 a month. Just let me just screw my sign into your fence. You'll never see me. I'm just trying to get a dealer's license. I need a place, and I'll just pay you $50 a month. I'll just mail you a check." And actually we settled on $75 a month, but I was paying $75 a month in rent to get my dealer's license. And then what I did is I just parked the cars at my apartment. When the commission came and inspected the lot, I had my sign, I had a building, everything was good. But I couldn't afford real rent for a real lot at that point, so I just parked the cars at my apartment, and I would go down to the gas station and meet people. I take the car at that time it was 2013, so these scanning smartphone apps like Cam Scanner, you can scan the documents. I had a little mobile scanner where you just run it down the page and it scans to an SD card. So we do all the paperwork. I would scan it and take the money. I got my little SD card with the paper on it, and I'd go print it off my printer, and I'd just walk back down to my apartment, or I'd have them drop me off at the front of the gate. So that's what I did for about a year. And shit, I sold 5 cars a month doing that. I was making anywhere from $2 to $5 grand a month, making a decent living. And my expenses were like $120 a month because, one, I had the rent for $75 a month. The bond that you need for a dealer's license is it's like 100 or a couple $100 a year. And then my insurance, which was a very basic minimum, and I was taking a lot of risk by not having good insurance, but that's what I had to do. So it was like $120 a month for my very basic dealership insurance. So if you add it up, it's like $200 a month for my dealer's license. And then I already lived in the apartment, so I already had living expenses, and I did that. It worked very well. And for my startup expenses, when I started my insurance, I think it was like $800 for the down payment on my insurance, $200 a month. It was $800 to start, then $200 a month, and then my bond was like $175 or $200 to start, and then that's $1,000 right there, which I had. And I actually went to a local floor plan company, which is AFC, and I got a $25,000 floor plan, and I didn't have any credit. I was like 18, just turning 19. But, so a floor plan company, a $25,000 floor plan is nothing. Like, anybody can get approved for that. And I was on what they called a silver plan. So it meant I could only buy cars at ADESA because AFC is owned by the same company as ADESA. So they said, it's a silver plan. Your mom has to co-sign, and you have $25,000, but you can only buy cars at ADESA. So I did that for about a year. And, you can buy cheap cars with that. You can buy 10 $2,000 cars easily, and 10 cars is a full inventory. You buy them for $1,000, $1,500. You sell them for $1,500 to $2,500, and you just do that 5 or 10 times a month, and you're making $5 grand easy. So fast forward from 2014 to 2016, I got too big for my pants pretty much, and I started doing expensive cars, like $10,000 to $15,000 cars, and financing and all this, whatever. So after 2 years of doing that, I actually failed. I went out of business. I didn't make money for a single month in that 2 year period because I got away from what worked. I got away from cheap cash cars, and instead I tried to go big and get these expensive cars, and it did not work because it's a whole different business. It's not even the same realm. Like between these cash cars and this financing, they're not even the same thing whatsoever. So I didn't know what I was doing at all. But I lost about $100,000 between those 2 years total, just money I kept pouring in, and debt, and racking up debt, and just taking on credit cards and just trying to keep this thing afloat. I I lost 3 businesses in that 2 year period. I had a failed car wash, I had a failed detail shop, and I had a failed dealership. So 2016, here I am in February of 2016, out of business, broke, like completely out of it. So I went to go work for a used car dealer in March for about a month, and he fired me because I was terrible at selling cars. And you probably get a sense from these videos how bad I am at selling, but that's okay because, it was a formula. I just had to follow the formula, do it, and it worked. A lot of you people that are better salespeople than me, you can take this far further than me. So in April of 2016, I tried to get a roof job. I tried to go door to door selling roofs. It didn't work. I was bad at that. So here I am again, completely broke, engaged to be married in like 4 months. And I had like $500 to my name. Like I had $500 total. I did not have any money. Didn't have any credit cards because they were all, in collections. And I kept my dealer's license active because I didn't want to shut down the license in case I wanted to flip a few cars a month. Because remember, it only cost me $200 a month to keep this license going. And, I was like, if I can flip one car a month, that makes it worth it. So I was back to having this $25,000 line of credit from AFC. I was paying $200 a month, and I was pretty much back to where I was, except way more in the hole. Except I was more knowledgeable in cars at this point. So I went back. to the AFC, to Odessa, and I made it a rule. I never paid more than $1,000 for a car. I just, I would pay $500. I'd sell for $800 to $900, and I just do that over and over and over. And I'm gonna flash up right here, my 2016 sales report, because you can kind of see that I only averaged $300 a car in profit, but I sold 250 cars that year, and I still made like 60 grand in profit after everything, and that's with me having a pretty shitty business. But I mean, if you can make $300 a car and do that 200 times a year, you can make good money. So that's how you do this. If you get $1,000 to your name, just follow that template. Just go get your license, get creative, find a place, let them pay you. Or you can, if you have a friend with a mechanic shop or a body shop, you can even tell them, like, hey, this is what I did in 2016. I said, hey, man, look, if I can put my sign here on your dealership, I'll pay you, $100 a month. And then if you can let me park cars here to sell them, I'll pay you $20 a car. And then, you're not really ever in the way. You get a location, you have a place for your license to be licensed at it, and you do that. You can pay them $20 a car, whatever, and they might be happy to make a little bit extra money. And then I got to the point where I was selling 30 cars a month, so I was paying this guy $600 a month, but it was worth it because I was making 10 grand a month, and I'd sell 30 cars a month, and I'd make $300 a car, and that's $9,900 in profit. So, if you're not an idiot like me, I'm an idiot. If you're not an idiot, then you can make $500 a car easily and do that 30 times a month. You got 30 times 500, that's 15 grand a month in gross profit. It's really not a hard formula. All you got to do is go to the auction. Your number one rule has to be that you do not buy any car that you do not drive personally. So I would go to the auction, I'd show up 2 hours early, and I just go look at like the buyer payer repos, the new car trades. I look for the shitty cars that are going to go cheap. I'd go drive them around, kind of get a feel for them, make sure that they're sellable. And then I'd say, hey, I'm not going to pay $800 for any of these cars. I'd have a list, and on my list was all the cars, all the information. And I would never, ever buy outside of that list unless it was just like a no-brainer. But I would stick to that list. I'd sit there. I'd wait for the car to come through. I'd pay under $800 for it if it was that cheap. and then I take it home, do a quick detail, run it through the car wash, maybe buff the headlights, do stuff like that. And then I'd mark it up $500. If I had $800 in it, I'd sell it for $1,300. I'd have it gone in less than a week, because on my floor plan, the term was that I could only buy at Odessa. I only had $25,000 to mess with, and I had to pay the car off in 30 days. So those are some pretty restrictive deadline. Like those, I was under heat. For every car I bought, I was like already in a rush. So I had to have these cars gone in 30 days. I could only buy at Odessa, but I made it work. I mean, shit, guys, with $1,000 in cash, I made $100,000 a year, like just doing this over and over and over. Go buy like a Buick Century for $500. I'd sell for $900. I just do it over and over. I get to the point to where I had like 15 cars on this floor plan, this $25,000 floor plan, and I had a full inventory that I was making 10 to 15 grand a month. And it's being very creative. A lot of dealers can't even make 15 grand a month with $1 million floor plan, and I'm using 25 grand. So you can do it. I promise that if you just follow these steps, do what I did. I mean, that was 2016. Here I am in 2020, bouncing around being a millionaire, based on the value of my assets. It's a little bit over, a little bit under, kind of bouncing up and down. And, made 200 grand each of the past 2 years. And I haven't done any financing since that. These past 4 years, I haven't done a single bit of financing, no buy or pay here. I'll work with banks that bring a bank draft, like that's cash. But man, it's you can do it with $1,000. You got to be creative. You got to start calling people up, use your contacts. Just find some mechanic shop, or you got to use people that you trust, of course. But I mean, if you can pay somebody $50 a month to put your sign on their fence, sell cars out of your driveway, and then once you're doing it to the point to where you know what you're doing, then you get a cheap little place. You find a business that you can like co-lease with, or you sublease a portion, or you just find a really cheap place, because all my sales have been online. So people are willing to drive for a good deal. You do not need a place that has drive-by traffic. You can get like you can get a little building with a lot like back behind the warehouse district. Who gives, like, nobody cares. You got to be easy to find, like on Google Maps, you got to be easy to find. But I mean, shit, you can pay like $500 a month for this rundown lot. I didn't even have heat or AC in my building. Like, we didn't have any heat, no AC, and I was selling cars in the dead of summer, winter. I don't give a shit, man. I was just trying to make enough money to live on, because up to that point in my life, before 2016, I had never made more than like $4 grand in a month. Like, I was top salesperson at US Cellular, but still, I only made $3,500 a month. And even though I'm bad at selling, I'm good at giving people what they want. And people want a good deal on a car. All you got to do is give it to them. And if you look at my video that I posted right before this one, the most important role in a dealership is the buyer. So if you buy the cars right, you don't have to worry about selling. The car sells itself. If you buy a car for $700 and you put it for $1,500 and it's nicer than any other $1,500 car, it's easy. I mean, people are going to buy it because it's a good deal. The more expensive the car is, the more you have to sell it. But the cheaper it is, as long as it's the best deal in the market for the price, you don't have to worry about selling it. You could sit there and you could just say yes, no, do you want to buy it? And you would sell the car because it's a good deal. You got a 2000 Buick with 150,000 miles. You sell it for $1,200. Drives great, no problems. Maybe a few little things. Somebody comes to look at it. Oh, yeah, it's a Buick. It drives good. You want to drive it? Yeah. Do you want to buy it? Yeah. Sign here. Give me the cash. Okay, bye. Like, that's all you got to do. I'm not even kidding. And you do that enough, you get better at selling when you sell more cars. I mean, shit, I'm good at selling now because I've sold 3,500 cars in the last 4 years. But that's all you do. Just over and over and over. If you can make a phone call, you can get a dealer's license with $1,000. Just be creative. Follow the formula. If you do not know what you're doing at all, then just go buy cheap cars. I mean, you have no risk. Like, let's say you pay $800 for this car, and let's say it's a complete piece of shit, like unsalvageable. Then you can sell it for $300 to $400 to the salvage yard, and you still only lose like $400 to $500. Your worst case scenario is that you lose $500. Whereas if you go buy a $4,000 car and it's trashed, it's a complete piece of shit, it falls apart, and you have to dump it for $1,000, well, you just lost $3,000 that you can't get back. So you see, if you can minimize your risk as a beginner, you can really go very far. And then the more cars you sell, the more you learn, the more you get better. And then 2 years later, you look down, and shit, you're making $150,000, $200,000 a year because you're selling 400 cars a year. You're making $800 a car. That's $320,000 in gross profit. You take out your expenses, and what you're left with is $150,000 to $200,000 in your pocket. And you're paying cash for inventory. I mean, within 5 to 10 years, you'll be a millionaire if you follow that formula. So that's what you do over and over and over. And this is Anthony with Pro Dealer Secrets, and I'll see you guys on the next one.